speaking with composer Victor Reyes, whose latest project is the miniseries adaptation of The Night Manager from author John le Carré. Victor is known for his amazing versatility in sound with scores like Grand Piano, Buried, and Red Lights. Victor, thank you so much for speaking today.
Very, very good. It's okay. Thank you.
So to start, I'd love to know how you got into music, and at what point did you decide to focus solely on film and television composing?
Well, I have studied music since I was a very, very small boy, with the priest, long time ago, back in the 70s. And some guy, oh, this guy has a good ear, maybe he should study music and so on, so on. I was studying since I was a boy, I tell you. And that I remember that I was 8 years old or something when I saw my the first time I saw the Magic Awards, original soundtrack by,
Yeah.
That's why Ennio Morricone's all 70 films was full of dollars, first
Right.
full of dollars.
Yeah, it's my favorites.
And this I I remember that this Magic Awards original soundtrack by I don't know, made something into my mind because I was studying classical music, and with all the music we have, Beethoven, Mozart, Rachmaninoff, all the music that is existing, how it's possible that this guy composed music for this particular film,
Right.
And I don't know, thinking the mentality of a 8-year-old boy of the 70s, no? And later, yeah, the first time I saw Star Wars, oh my God, I don't know. There is a very famous story by John Lennon, in an interview in which John Lennon was talking about when he decided to write music, to be a musician,
Right.
And my story is very similar because John Lennon, with all my respect, he talks about when I was a boy, I watched, I went to the theater to see a movie with Elvis Presley, and you see this guy surrounded of pretty girls, in Hawaii, singing, and this is a good job. This is a good job. and Lennon then decided to be surrounded by girls, singing and dancing, My story is so similar, but when I saw the Star Wars in the theater, wow! And this guy composing music for this film, this is a good job, something like that,
Right. Not as many girls.
Makes sense. Also, sure, it's a very common story,
Right. So, looking at your process as a composer, as a storyteller, when you approach a film or a TV series or any project that you approach, kind of, what is your starting point? Like, what is the first thing that you usually do that kind of sparks the first notes, that kind of gets the first ideas? Is it conversations with the director? Is it watching the film? I mean, what is kind of the kind of the starting point for you?
I think it's to help to understand the story.
Mm-hmm.
I think the music for films, in either television series or movies or films, has a function, right?
Right.
You have to help. You have to help to understand the story. The people doesn't know, well, more or less doesn't know nothing about the story, about the characters. They sit in the theater to see a 2 hours story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to help to understand the story, or maybe to misunderstand the story or misunderstand the characters.
Uh-huh.
Maybe your function is to develop a kind of emotion that eventually at the end of the story makes sense, but not in the beginning, for instance. No?
Right.
But anyway, there is a function, either emotional or describing things, or that is inside the characters, is inside the minds of the characters, and you have to help to understand that.
Right.
I think.
Right. Yes. So for the Night Manager, when you had those initial meetings with the director and the producers, what were the ideas of what the score would be or should be, and what did you want for your music to accomplish with the Night Manager?
Well, that everyone has 10 tracks into the cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my specialty is to turn down these 10 tracks and bring another option,
Yeah.
Because most of the times the editors or the people that set the same tracks are very conventional. My job is to find another way with, I don't know, as I said before, this story, The Night Manager, is John le Carré's book, right? John le Carré is very tricky boy.
Yeah, very.
Tricky stories, unconventional characters. You don't know exactly if the bad guy is the bad guy or is the good one, and maybe you have to not to disclosure some aspect of the personality of the characters.
Right.
But anyway, The Night Manager, I have a lot of luxury village in the Mediterranean, fine hotels in Cairo, in Turkey, a lot of different locations, exotic places, to meet fine women, nice luxury life, not like Bond, a little bit like James Bond, but not so specific, right?
Right. Yeah.
But the plot is very complicated. In all John le Carré's books is the plot is tricky.
Very.
And you have a lot of work to do. A lot of work.
So as it's
also we have to make this combination of classical background, romantic background with the orchestra, combined with local ambience, and when the action takes place in Cairo or takes place in Turkey or in Mallorca in the Mediterranean, you have to play with all of these flavor instruments, ethnic,
Right. Absolutely.
And we have a lot of work to do.
So,
but I think Suzanne was very pleased. I think.
right.
I think.
It's a mini series, The Night Manager, and it takes place. It's over 6 episodes, 6 1-hour episodes. So when you approach this, did you kind of work, just kind of treat each episode as its own little thing, and episode 1 check, episode 2 check, or do you go kind of treat it as one 6-hour long thing?
Yeah, I think it's 6 episodes, right? It's a 3 films of 2 hours.
Okay.
Actually.
Oh, that's right.
And you need a very powerful theme, the main theme, which describes, in this case, the personality of Richard Roper, who is the bad guy, is Hugh Laurie, a huge millionaire with weapons trafficker that is a kind of godfather,
Right.
And this guy, Tom Hiddleston, began to work for him, and Walter sees like a kind of song. It's a very familiar thing. I saw most of it like the Godfather.
Right.
For me, this was one of the keywords. It's not so mystery or not so thriller thing, but familiar thing.
Right.
And this theme, the main theme for no, 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 it's very romantic, very, I don't know. It sounds to me familiar.
So yeah, and we're talking.
I don't know if I explain myself. I don't know if I explained myself.
Oh no, you did. No, absolutely. But looking at
Thank you.
looking at you talked about it earlier that John le Carré's stories, they're very dense, they're very complicated, intricate, and a lot of you really have to be paying attention. But they're so engaging, and they're very popular. A lot of movies and TV shows have been based on his stories. So
Yeah.
so if you had the opportunity to let's say you pretend the original scores for these movies never existed. If you could choose one of the movies that were based on John le Carré's novels, not The Night Manager, something else, but if you could pick any other one, which would you choose?
Mostly Tinker Soldier Spy by Alderete Iglesias.
Such a good one.
It's a friend of mine. But Tinker Soldier Spy is a very intellectual story.
Right.
And also, the film is a very intellectual film. The film needs you to go to the theater, to sit down at the theater, quiet, and this is the way that you will understand this particular way to tell this story.
Right. Yeah. It's
right.
Absolutely.
The Night Manager is a popular mass media production for everyone to see, everyone to understand.
Mm-hmm.
This is different.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And the way to achieve that the audiences pays attention to the story is not be so intellectual, but you have to be. It's not a question to be cheaper or not good music or no. You have to do it well.
Right.
Because if you don't do the job well, the story doesn't work.
Right.
Or the music doesn't work with the story.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yes. So
Alberto Alberto has the occasion to play a lot with a cello solo, during 2 minutes. Okay, that doesn't work in television.
Right.
Or maybe it will work, but not for this story.
So looking at
that's my point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if looking at your career, kind of overall, you've done so many films. You've been working for so many years, and have you found any distinct differences between American filmmaking and Spanish filmmaking? Has there been maybe stylistic differences, or maybe just business differences? Has there been an effect maybe on your process between the two different cultures?
I don't think so. The most of the good films I made in Spain, Rodrigo Cortés's film,
right.
For instance, Red Lights, The Contestant, Buried, which is with Ryan Reynolds, most of American films is in English, is American and English casting, and I don't see in these cases I don't see much difference. I see differences when I don't want to use the word typical Spanish, but there is a kind of movies, a kind of films that is only comprehensive comprehensible in Spain. You know what I mean?
Right.
But not in the case of these international productions or Grand Piano or Apartment Emergo, which is developed in English, and I don't see many differences.
Okay, well that's interesting. Yeah. So to to wrap up, I would like to ask if you could give, let's say, one tip to, there's a lot of young composers, a lot of young filmmakers. They're trying to get into the business, trying to get their start. If you could give a tip to somebody who's starting out their career in this industry, what would be your one tip?
So, can you repeat the question, please?
Oh yeah, of course. So if you could give advice, there's a lot of young filmmakers, a lot of young composers who are trying to get in the business.
Okay.
So if you from your career and everything you've learned, if you could give some advice, one piece of advice to a young aspiring composer, what would it be?
Go to the theaters.
Go to the theaters.
Go to watch movies.
That's a good tip.
Go to the theaters, watch a lot of movies, and to the DVD, and watch a lot of films. Watch, listen a lot of music, and ask yourself why this particular sequence has music and the previous one doesn't have.
Right.
There must be a reason.
Mm-hmm.
There must be a reason. The tricky point in film composing is when the hell you start with the orchestra, because it's intrusive. If you think deeply, an orchestra into a conversation, the two people are into a hotel room,
right,
speaking, chatting, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In certain point, in certain second, and no 5 seconds before or 5 seconds after, and not one frame before or one frame after. It's in certain frame, or certain second, certain moments of the movie that the orchestra begins to play something. Must be a reason, and this is what you have to ask yourself. Why? That's a question that I am asking myself until today. When I begin to write music for a certain sequence for any film, why I should start here? And now when the guy looks at the girl, or why? There must be a reason, and film composing is to find the reason.
Right. Well,
do I explain myself?
Yeah, that's great advice.
Yeah. Watch movies, and listen music. That's my only advice.
Well, that's good advice to take to heart, and I definitely am watching and I'm listening, and I definitely encourage everyone else to do so too. But Victor,
yeah,
thank you so much for your time today. It was such a great time chatting with you, and so insightful. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Great.